Hi everyone, welcome to America and World War I Part 2, At Home and Abroad. Please turn to your guided notes labeled Part 2 and let's look at President Wilson. Woodrow Wilson was very idealistic. Remember, he was highly educated. He was a former president of Princeton University. Under number 1, I want you to put down this quote: "The right is more precious than peace. We shall fight for small nations." So that goes down to number 1 to show you his goal for World War I. Under A, guys, the World War for us was going to be a war to end all wars. So I want you to put down for letter A that we wanted to make sure nothing like this ever happened again. So, if we were going to join, we had to really make sure it was a noble effort to prevent anything in the future ever happening again. Lastly, under letter A, that we really believe that we can be the keeper of peace. Shown here is a political cartoon entitled The League of Nations. You guys should know that that's the precursor to the United Nations, and it's Woodrow Wilson's idea. So shown here is our attitude that we can be the keeper of peace for the world. So put that down for A. And next, we wanted to make the world safe for democracy. So under B, guys, please put down that we had a strong desire to spread our democratic ideals, pictured here, throughout the world. For remember, the Bolshevik Revolution worried us, and we had to make sure democracy was the first priority. Wilson gave a famous speech, which we'll read an excerpt of in class. He said, "It must be a peace without victory. Only a peace between equals can last. Only a peace the very principle of which is equality and a common participation in a common benefit." So under letter C, what does the peace without victory exactly mean? Here he is giving his speech. So guys, please put down that we wanted to stay non-partisan, right? We did not want to choose sides. We didn't want to make enemies and create resentments that would last into the future. All right, let's move on to number 2. In terms of preparing for war, you guys should know, under number 2, please put down the U.S. military was not ready to go. So put down their numbers. Only 98,000 men, which 45,000 were stationed overseas. Contrast that to the French, had 1.2 million. I show you some of their uniforms pictured here. And Germany had 2 million troops. So quite a difference. And so under letter A, I ask you guys, how does a country get ready for war? Well, Wilson creates the WIB. So define it as the War Industries Board under letter A. And what does it do? Please put down that it coordinates business, right, companies, factories, with what war materials are needed. So it even goes so far as to transform factories for making ships and tanks, right, instead of cars. And the last thing I want you guys to put down for letter A is the head of the WIB is Bernard Baruch. You guys should know he's one of the first truly powerful Jewish government officials, so that's pretty important for Jewish history. Go on to letter B, and let's talk about the new military camps. So remember how I said the U.S. military was not ready to go? Pictured here is the quote, doughboy. So I want you guys to know where these soldiers got their name from. There's a really cool website we're going to use on your phones. You're going to click on each of these and learn about them more tomorrow in class. But the name of doughboy came from our war with Mexico in 1916 when we were trying to chase Pancho Villa. Our soldiers there were covered in the adobe dust, which looked like flour, hence the name doughboy. Alright, so that goes down under B. And so guys, the camps transformed the doughboys into these ready soldiers to send over to France. Training tactics, exercises. So please put that down for B. Again, I'm asking, how does a country prepare for war? Well, you have to sell it to the American people. So the CPI you want to define as the Committee of Public Information. You want to put down a little bit more information. It's how the government got involved in the media, and it was large-scale manipulation. Here's an example of what's produced by the CPI, showing our ships for Uncle Sam. This is during World War I. Under CPI, guys, for letter C, please put down the head. His name was George Creel. He was a muckraker. He does sell the war to the American people by enlisting thousands of volunteers. So put down for C, guys, that he sends speakers to deliver these 4-minute long pro-war speeches, sometimes outside of movie theaters to catch people. So here's a pamphlet on the 4-minute men. This is George Creel's invention. So again, we're talking about war preparation. Under D, guys, for Selective Service Act, you want to put down that it legalizes the draft. And over 4 million were drafted or conscripted. But check out the enthusiasm of the American public. 2 million just sign up and volunteer. Here's great propaganda right here on the right. And on the next slide is one of the more famous posters. This does come from World War I. And here's an example of someone signing up for the draft, and here is some early recruits. So before we move on to number 3, here's just some propaganda that came from the War Industries Board. Don't waste paper. Paper is essential. A pound of paper wasted is a pound of fuel wasted. So this is coming from, really manipulating the public. And follow the Pied Piper, right? Join the United States School Garden Army. So what can you do, for your country at home? So I'd like to ask you guys, how does World War I affect its citizens at home? Well, women fill the jobs once the men go overseas. So they fill traditional factory jobs, and here they're seen in a sketch from a magazine of the era, also, in a factory for war materials. So here's a great propaganda showing, for every fighter that goes abroad, there's a woman behind him, our second line of defense. So they really do assert themselves, and this is during the time of the suffrage movement. So you might want to make some type of association between this newfound power, independence, to the cause of women getting the right to vote. So what about African Americans? So guys, we're still in the era of Jim Crow. Please, I got this picture for World War I, just to show you guys that African Americans served in segregated units, right? And then here's a great photo of the time. If Negro men can carry guns for Uncle Sam, surely they can drive milk wagons for Bowman Dairy. So, trying to get fair wages here. This leads to, guys, please put this down for B, that many African Americans, thousands, take part in this movement called the Great Migration. So put that down for B. Thousands of blacks move from the South, pictured here, this family, and they go to the northern factories during World War I, right, because there's opportunity. Many whites have left to go fight. This also continues into the 1920s. All right, so number 4, how do we pay for the war? So I want you guys to know, before we even join in the war and declare war on Germany, we send, so put this down for number 4, for A, sorry, that we send food, we send money, and we send supplies. But once we've declared war, we've really got to raise much more money. And so guys, for B, Liberty Bonds, the Committee on Public Information persuades citizens to buy these bonds shown here. So it's like a loan to the government, so they are able to get your money to finance the war. And then after the war, you get your money back plus interest. Also, guys, understand that there were many public and private donations because this was an era of extreme nationalism, remember jingoism. So a lot of money does come into the government from donations. All right, guys, on the other side, number 5, let's talk about Germany versus the United States. So, guys, Germany began the war with only 28 submarines. They made almost a submarine every 4 days throughout the war. They ended the war with 369 submarines. Guys, for letter B, this just shows that submarines played a huge role in the war, for they destroyed 13 million tons of Allied shipping. And so what is the solution to submarine warfare? Guys, under letter C, I want you to put down the convoy system. So convoys create a protective barrier around troops and supplies, any kind of ships, so the Navy helps defend against submarine torpedoes. So it's kind of neat to see the actual diagram here against how we fought against the U-boats. All right, guys, another part of the solution you want to put down for letter C is that the Navy responds by expanding, here's one of our battleships, to 2,500 ships and 500,000 men. So here's a great wartime propaganda poster trying to get the Navy to expand. And so under D, you want to put down that subs are ineffective against such large surface fleets. Subs really work better against only a few ships at a time, like merchant ships. And so the solution of expanding the Navy and using the convoy system certainly brings the subs under control. And so the American troops, led by General Pershing, his nickname is Black Jack, which we'll look up, the origin of that name. He's the leader. He is a man of his principle. He truly sees this as a new war and fights to really run his own regiments instead of just filling in spots for the French and the British. So he holds to this, and he becomes the most celebrated American hero of the war. So guys, for E as well, so you know the leader, here's our troops landing in early summer of 1917, where they needed most. Under E, just finish up by putting that the Western Front is desperate for new troops. Remember, trench warfare has been going on since 1914. All right, the battle at home, number 6. So how do we enforce loyalty? I want you guys to put down this quote for letter A. Every person who refuses to buy bonds is a friend of Germany. And here's a poster of another propaganda poster showing how she's doing her part. Another way that we enforce loyalty is by promoting hatred of all things German. So guys, look at some of the original German names and how we renamed them during World War I. Anti-German League. And guys, under letter C, we even banned certain German foods, right, seen here. You guys should know that we banned German music from Mozart and Beethoven. We ban pretzels, right, that are German. And we even rename German measles to call them Liberty measles. So a lot of things are going on at home to fight Germany. And lastly, guys, our civil liberties take a toll. So under D, I want you to define the Espionage Act, which we'll look at in more detail in your groups. So what it does is it legalizes punishment for disrupting enlistments or providing dissenting opinions against the war. The first time there's a Supreme Court case we'll look at because we're arguing that these anti-war opinions present clear and present danger. Lastly, guys, under E is the Sedition Act. Here's a great cartoon showing how the sedition goes against free speech, free press, and honest opinions. So what does it do? It's disloyal or abusive wartime language becomes a punishable offense. And there'll be another Supreme Court case we'll look at in our groups called Abrams versus United States. This is Tevi signing off. See you guys all for Block Day.